Good evening. My name is Master Deputy Lisa Noland. I have been with the Sheriff's Office 20 years. My current status, I'm in a middle school resource officer, and I proudly represent that division, community outreach.
Which school are you at?
I'm at Davidson Middle School. It's Davidsen Middle School. It's the School of Arts.
And why did you want to specifically be a school resource officer?
I wanted to be a school resource officer because I want to reach out to children who may not have a father, mother at home like I did growing up, or maybe one or the other may be incarcerated at some time. Just to be a role model and help make a difference in their lives, because every day I learn something new and they make a difference in me. It's an incredible feeling.
So upon hearing the news of the upcoming execution, just talk to us about what was going through your mind at that moment.
Last Tuesday, April 23rd, it never seems like everything's on the 23rd, I received a call from Tallahassee. It was a Miss Susan Smith, advising me that our Governor Ron DeSantis had signed Robert Joe Long's death warrant. I have to be honest, and I want you to feel this. In my heart, I started crying. I questioned myself, was it normal at the time? And sure, it's normal. It wasn't closure. For me, closure happened a long time ago. This is about for justice and peace, not only for myself, but for the loved ones who can't be here to speak for themselves. I'm their voice. And for the families who are surviving to have to go through this time after time, appeal after appeal.
So, upon hearing that wasn't the closure for you, you said you already had that closure. What was that moment of closure for you?
I really can't give a specific time and date. It was just one of those things where I carry on. I go on, I do documentaries. Have a Lifetime movie that just came out in September of last year. It's a matter of when I do my documentaries and a movie and I go to guest speaking, I've been to Canada, I've been all over. It's a lifetime journey of healing for me. And I guess all those years I've been doing shows and documentaries, it's helped me with closing that chapter. Now the next chapter is getting to that piece to where it's done. Justice has been served.
This is a long time coming, though.
Well, you're thinking 35 years, and people say 34 years. Let me correct that. It's 35 years because he was arrested in '84, technically. 34 years where he got arrested. I think back in 1986 when he got convicted of the first murder. And I'm also going to correct something else for you guys. It's 10 women, not 8, that he killed. That has been known. And per retired Colonel Gary Terry, whom I dearly respect and love still today, him and I both say that there's probably more women out there that just haven't been found, and it's unfortunate.
Deputy, if you hadn't escaped and gotten away and then given all those intricate details of the Magnum, red car, seeing the Howard Johnson, sort of leading investigators to all those locations, you might have killed more women. Do you think about that in your role as a deputy today?
I really believe that in the Bible, and I'm not a real religious person, I don't go to church here and there, but in the Bible, when you plant your seeds and they get plowed by God, all my childhood I was abused most of my life, in and out of foster care 5 years. It prepared me for what was going to happen between the age of 14 and 17. I was being sexually abused at home by my grandmother's boyfriend. It allowed me to tap into the survivor schools one more time, not realizing at the age of 17 I was already surviving. I was already a survivor, didn't know it. And when the attack happened, it was, okay, God, what's one more person? You got my back. It really helped me survive that attack, to use it psychologically, to get inside his head and get to actually try to get him to see that I was a compassionate person. And even though what he was doing to me wasn't right, I had to show him that was a real person at the same time. Do you understand? It saved my life, and I'm here today and to vow, and I represent Tampa Police Department and the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, who helped save my life. And what a way and an honor to do so, to become a sheriff deputy myself 20 years ago.
Are you still in touch with the families of some of his other victims?
As a matter of fact, yes, I am. I speak a lot at the University of Tampa. As a matter of fact, I have an engagement there on May 6th to speak to a criminology class. I've run into some remaining victims' families. Vicki Elliott's family. We went last year to the Victims Advocate Week in April up in Tallahassee to advocate for the death warrant to be signed. I know Luella, I think it's Lula Williams, which is Chantel Williams' mother. She's a sweetheart. She called me 6 years ago when I started School Resource. I get this phone call. I just did something with Channel 8, an interview with Channel 8, and she calls and she says, "Is this Deputy Lisa Noland?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, it is." Very sweet voice, you know, very warm, very welcoming. I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she asked again, just to confirm who I was. And she said, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "No, ma'am, I don't." And when she identified herself as Miss Williams, I got to tell you, I started crying. And she says, "Don't you cry, you be our voice." And because of her and the remaining victims that are gone, I'm the voice. And you're going to hear me speak up, and I'm going to roar.
What does it mean to you knowing that he will be dead after May 23rd? You'll go to bed that night, and you'll know that he isn't alive.
After his execution, knowing that he's going to die less than, 25 days from now, I'm hoping to get a full night's sleep without any interruptions. I have not slept since 1984, a full night of sleep. I have lost sleep. I may get 2-3 hours, maybe 4 hours a night. I'm always interrupted. And I'd say something else I learned some of my conferences I go to. I come to realize, I think the reason why I know that I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning is because that's the time of my abduction. It struck me one night sleeping in bed. That's when that happened. And ever since then, it's just been a nightmare of, is he coming after me, or are the doors locked in my house, or are the windows? Even though I have a 110-pound Rottweiler, you know, and a husband as a deputy, you still have that back in your mind. You know, it's going to be me peace, but justice at the same time. But just because he's going to be gone, I'm still going to advocate. I'm still going to do my documentaries. I'm still going to speak out and educate people. Just because you become a victim, you don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay that way. You don't have to remain a victim.
For those who may not be completely familiar with the details of your story, if it's not too traumatic for you, can you walk us through how you came to encounter him and how you escaped?
Yes, ma'am. Back in 1984, of November 3rd, I was riding my bicycle home from work after working a double shift. Normally I don't work a double shift, but I was afraid to go home because if I had to go home, I had written my suicide the night before. I was going to end my life. I was tired of being abused. My boss asked me to work a double shift, and I did. Got permission from my grandmother and her boyfriend. And on the way home at 2:30 in the morning, I rode a bicycle. That was my mode of transportation. And I get skeptics, well, why ride a bike at 2 o'clock in the morning? Why not in the afternoon? I have every right to ride a bike at 2 o'clock in the morning, as I do at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was proceeding down from the Krispy Kreme donut shop off of Waters and Florida Avenue. My normal route was Waters to Rome over Slide down to Wellswood. I lived directly across from from Tampa Catholic School, High School, 1531 River Shores Way. And I still remember the address as I was still living there. As I'm proceeding past Rome and Slide, I looked at a church. I see a red car, didn't know what make and model it was, sitting in the middle of the parking lot. Why I thought that struck me odd, I don't know. Still had in the back of my mind of the killings that were going on. As I turned my head to proceed forward, I did realize how dark it was. I'm like, wow, what if someone would reach out and grab me? And right as I said that, I turned. There was a van parked south from the van. It's like a VW bug van. That's when my encounter Robert Geelong occurred. So my bike went one way, and I went another way. He came up behind me, grabbed me, and put the gun to my left temple. The left temple, when I felt the steel cold barrel of that gun, very familiar. My grandmother's boyfriend used to put a gun to my head every time he molested me for 3 years. It was nothing new to me. I was very calm, to be honest. I mean, I screamed at first, and I yelled out and said, "God, whatever you do, just don't kill me. I'll do whatever you want." Proceeded to drag me to his car, same car. I was ordered to, at knife point and gunpoint, to remove all my clothing, and I did. Everything he asked me to do, I did. There was also an incident in the car before we took off. I had to perform a sex act on him. We won't go into details. After that, he had bound me, tied me, blindfolded me. Take your wrist, put a string around it, tie it. When you release it, what happens? It gets loose, right? I did that with my jaw. I wanted to be able to see beneath my blindfold. Now, I understand I was 17, not realizing I'm going to my survivor mode. I was going to do anything I can to get out of the situation. And understand, again, the night before, I wrote my suicide note. I was going to kill myself. Now, I'm trying to survive. I'm going to get out of this somewhere, somehow. He proceeds to drive off. I'm very good with sense of direction. He headed north on Rome. He took a right on Sly, which was east, and headed to the interstate. Windows were down. I could hear the knocking noise of a car that needed a tune-up. I could see a green digital clock. Once you got interstate, you all know the window's down. What happens? The velocity of the wind changes. It gets faster. I kept seeing something shine in my eye. I couldn't think of what it was. He proceeded about 20 minutes, not knowing where he got off at. At this time, I don't know where I'm at. I still had no clothes on. I'm laid back in the seat. My clothes are on the carpet, not realizing, the carpet's being transferred to my clothing at that time, moving my feet around. We're proceeding to where he was going to take me. I did not realize he was taking me to an apartment building. It was like a strip plaza. When we got to the destination, all I saw was trees. And I start reciting the Lord's Prayer. This is it. This is going to be it. Next thing I know, he orders me to get dressed. I'm about dumbfounded about as anybody else could be. Get dressed. I get dressed. I wanted to leave clues behind. At that time in my life, I was on my monthly cycle, and I ripped my tampon out, and I threw it into the car seat to save my life. Blood match, right? I used to watch a lot of crime shows back there, Magnum P.I., Airwolf, AMS 12. He proceeded to escort me out of the car, and I'm walking towards the trees. I'm thinking we're in a wooded area, and next thing you know, my hand's on a steel handle of a door. The window, I could see underneath my blindfold, the window was one window pane with little slats to break it down like to 8 different window panes. We proceeded inside. As I'm looking down, I could see it's lit up inside, from the ground. It was a green carpet, predominantly green, black, red, white specks in it. Got to the top floor, 19 floors. I counted the floors to see how many floors I got to run down if I was able to escape. I knew he was Caucasian at the time. After I got up to the apartment, because he reached for the door handle, and he's white, left-handed, carried a revolver in his left hand. Proceeded to walk in. I was ordered to undress. Stood there, and I don't know if he did this or not. I heard the sound of bullets falling into a trash can of some sort, something metal. Proceeded to escort me into the bathroom, and he gives me a shower. The next 26 hours, I was brutally raped by this monster. And I'm going to put it out there. It's not molestation, it's not sexual assault. It is rape. I endured that for 26 hours.
You survived and you
Yes.
got him caught.
I survived, got him caught. At the moment of time, he did try to feed me at one time. It was 11 o'clock, I think the next night. Airwolf had came on. He took me to the living room, he had me dressed, tried to feed me, couldn't eat. Think he might poison me. I don't know, right? Paranoia? I don't know. Common sense. Airwolf was on. At the time, a news break came in and said there was a 17-year-old Lisa Rhodes missing. Rhodes was spelled R-H-O-D-E-S. That was the name of my grandma's boyfriend. I was always to call him Dad in public. When that came on, he shut the TV off, and then it became surreal knowing that someone was looking for me. I started crying, frantically crying. He put the gun to my head and said, if you don't stop crying, you're going to force me to kill you. Stop crying. The time came when he asked me what he would do with me. We had a conversation at one point in time why he was doing this to me. He had mentioned that he had raped other women, and not that it made it okay. And I said, why are you doing this to me? He goes, because just to get back at women in general. I said, okay. He had a bad relationship with a girl, broke up, so he's getting back at women in general. So when the time came to release me, what did I do? Reverse psychology. That's what I would call it. I said, I'll be your girlfriend. I'll do whatever you want. It's unfortunate how we met. We don't have to tell anybody how we met. Let's do this. He said, no, I can't keep you. He asked me the area of town I lived in. I said, Hillsborough and Rome. Goes to a gas station, gets gas, goes to an ATM machine. Again, my blindfold, same method I used to make it loose. I could see a silhouette of him, kind of stout, white t-shirt, blue jeans, brown hair. Actually, I saw the brown hair in the shower, but I saw him through my hands at one time. He actually put my hands on his face. You'd be surprised what you could see, hear, smell, and taste when your sight's taken. I used that for my benefit. He had a pockmarked face, small mustache, small ears. It felt like he had just had his hair groomed, as if he had a haircut. He proceeded to go to the interstate again, as where I was trying to see where I was at. That's why I saw the Howard Johnson and the Quality Inn, Fowler, and Interstate 275. I was a smart little 17-year-old, right? pat on the back here, right? He proceeded to Hillsborough and Rome. He passes Hillsborough Rome, and he must have invented some new curse words. He was real aggravated, very loud, very mad, cursing at me. I lied to him. I asked him very calmly, and I said, "Where are you at?" Mendenhall in Hillsborough. Great. I went to Mendenhall Elementary. Son knew where I was at. Take a U-turn. Hillsborough and Rome's at the light. He actually listened to me. Somehow, some way, throughout my contact with him, I'm sure I gained his trust somehow. I mean, come on, look at me, right? Gained his trust, right? He proceeded to go past the lights. He goes into a cut-off turn lane, go eastbound. He cuts over the westbound lanes. He's now north. He drives into the old eye optical outlet building, and behind there was a huge oak tree housed in an island, you know, with a curb. Pulls in. I'm blindfolded, still tied. I'm dressed. He tells me to describe him to the police. He thought I was going to the police, which I did, of what I thought who he looked like, or his features and all that. To describe him other than what I thought he was. He proceeds to get me out of the car. He escorts me to the, I'm going to demonstrate, is that okay? He escorts me to the curb, and I'm blindfolded. My feet hit the curb, and I almost fell over. He tells me, whispers in my ear, he tells me, stand here for 5 minutes, and you're free to go. In law enforcement, and being 17 years old, 5 minutes is an eternity. It felt like 30 hours. I finally got brave enough to say, wait a second, let me go get his tag number. It was too late. The minute I took my blindfold off and I look at this beautiful, gorgeous tree, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning next morning, the first thing that came to my mind was, branches of life, you're going to be okay. Second thing I thought of, run. I ran back to my grandmother's house. I knew I could get help there. Unfortunately, for the next 5 hours, I was beaten by my grandmother's boyfriend, asking all kinds of questions where I've been at. My grandmother finally stood up, called the police, and told them I had been home, and I had made a story up that I'd been kidnapped. And that's what got Tampa Police Department's attention. But the fourth time after being at the police station, I had called the police station. This is very interesting here. I have some news for Sergeant Larry Pinkerton. God bless him. He's retired now. I still have contact with him. Stating that I had some information about the serial killer. My information I'm going to share with you is, as I'm in my house, my grandmother's house with her boyfriend, I walked by a television that was sitting on a table, 19-inch black and white, and I heard another body had been found. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. You got instincts. Listen to them. They're telling you something's not right. And I said, oh my goodness, my abductor's a serial killer. When I got to meet with Larry Pinkerton again and tell him that, we ended up having to call the sheriff's office. We formed a task force to get them started on the possibility that I was the only remaining live victim that he had. And as a result, here I am.
Did this influence you to go into law enforcement?
Yes, all the abuse I've had in my childhood, and my teenage years, the foster care system, to see a child slip through the foster care system breaks my heart. I wanted to go into law enforcement, yes, to make a difference, but I remember in the academy, I told my instructor, because they come around, they ask you, what's the common reason why you went into law enforcement? Make a difference, right? Here's my answer. I thought I was in trouble after class because I was told to stay behind, was, I want to go to her house. She's a victim. She never had any contact with law enforcement, and I want her to show and make a difference in me, teach me how to treat her. And that's why I still stand by today. It's my golden rule to myself: treat others as you want to treat you. It's very important, because there may be a person who's never had contact with law enforcement. Have empathy for them, and that's where I stand today.
Are you going to the execution?
May 23rd, 2019, the execution at 6 p.m. is scheduled to go. As of right now, as of today, I've been corresponding back with Tallahassee for the last week. And it's been on news yesterday that he is trying to get a stay of execution. And here's my thought on that. When I got the news yesterday via email, I didn't open the email just yet. I had to pray to God and ask God, if it's your will, it's your will. If he's executed, great. Justice for me, but mainly for the families who can't be with their loved ones because they were taken too soon, in peace. And if he's not executed, then I'll continue to fight for it.
Do you think about the irony of the worst possible part of your life saved your life from suicide?
One bad situation got me to another bad situation is what saved my life, because the night before I'm doing my suicide note, and the next night I'm fighting for my life. I wasn't going to allow someone else to take anything else from me. I was done. I was going to stand up and believe in and not be a victim. I was tired of being a victim.
What did you do with the suicide note?
I threw it away. Read it one more time and threw it away. And I just thank God I didn't kill myself. And I thank God, and it's ironic, I guess, I don't know, or poetic, whatever. I'm kind of glad that the encounter with Robert Joe Long happened. Because if it not had happened, I don't think I'd be standing here before you today to speak out for the others.
Do you think you would have gone through with your suicide?
I would have gone my suicide. I can guarantee, had I made it home, I would have ended my life.
He said, I guess to the judge, that he was scared of the lethal injection and that he thinks it's going to be too painful for him. Just hearing your story and hearing what he's put other women through, just what would you say to people that might be sympathetic towards him, or people that are against the death penalty, that he's worried about inflicting pain on himself or something?
Well, there's not a negativity in this world. You got the people on Facebook, social media being very negative. God forgives murderers. Yeah, that is true, and I honestly believe that. But you know what? Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. I wrote it down. I think it's Matthew 25:13. I want to say. Don't quote. I mean, you can quote me, but I'm not sure that's the exact one. Yeah, there's forgiveness, okay, but there's also a price to pay for that forgiveness. And his time is coming, and he knows it. And ironically, he's very scared. It's about time. I want him to 25 days less to think about your life's about to end. Because where is the justice? Where is the humanity for those victims that he took? Where is the humanity at one time, when one of the poor victims had a pair of scissors on her, and he displayed her legs out 5 feet wide with the scissors up inside of her? Where was that? Where was that justice for those victims? Where were their appeals and their rights? Why are we standing here? Why are we talking about this today? Why has this not had happened? And those questions may never be answered, but I'm okay with that. God's will, people. God's will. If it's meant to be happening, it will. If it doesn't happen until 2020, I'm right there beside my victims' families. I'm going to hold their hand and walk them through it.
So you will go regardless of it?
Regardless. I will go. Yes, ma'am.
If he were standing right in front of you, especially now that he's being condemned to death, what would you say to Bobby Joe Long?
Thank you. Thank you for choosing me that night, because you kept somebody else from being hurt. Thank you for that. And you changed my life. I was able to get out of my home situation, because after that happened, I was able to reveal everything was going on at home. So thank you. That's what I would say. That's all. I mean, with all sincerity. And have I forgive him? Yes, I have. But I forgive him from what he did to me. Because if you don't forgive somebody, I'm just as much in a prison as he is. So forgiveness is very important to forgive somebody. Anything else?
Yeah.
All right. Good? Yes, sir.